Have you ever traveled using a Groupon? There are a lot of ways that people find discounted travel, and one of them happens to be traveling using a Groupon. Would you ever use a Groupon for your trip? Well, I'm going to tell you about my experience with a Groupon Getaway to Iceland, which included airfare and accommodation.
Hashtag work hard, travel well. We're gonna have to get it.
What's up, y'all? It's Kim. I am the creator of workhardtravelwell.com and the creator of the hashtag workhardtravelwell. And on this channel, I talk about business, travel, and wellness and how you can travel well with a full-time job. I'm going to tell you about my experience using Groupon for a trip to Iceland. When my friend approached me about going on a trip, they told me about a Groupon to Iceland. I'm like, what is there to do in Iceland? And also, what in the world am I doing with Groupon? Because I usually book my flights direct with the airline. So at the time of this trip, the package was roughly $800 and it included airfare from DC to Reykjavik, which was on Iceland Air. It also included a hotel stay for 3 nights at the Radisson Blu Saga Hotel, which is like a 3-star hotel. And it included daily breakfast. It was supposed to include the Northern Lights tour and also Blue Lagoon. Here are some things to pay attention to when you're booking a Groupon getaway. The Groupon was actually through Gate 1 Travel, so that's something you have to be mindful of when you're booking these trips. The experience is not going to be directly tied to Groupon. It's going to be tied to the company that is affiliated with that Groupon. So with that Groupon, we had the opportunity to book additional tours through Gate 1 Travel, and we did so. We booked the Golden Circle tour, which you can see in my Black Girls in Iceland video.
Black Girls in Iceland!
The trip was in February, and that's supposed to be one of the months that's good to see the Northern Lights. The flight on Iceland Air was interesting. The flight did not include us the ability to be able to pick seats, but we were all together. So the flight left from DC, and I was able to use Southwest Air to get to DC because I have a lot of points with Southwest Air using some of the travel hacks that I've mentioned in previous videos. Iceland Air did not have meal service at the time for the 6-hour flight. You would have to pay extra for that, but there was like regular beverages included. Once we arrived at the airport, ground transportation was included in our package, but what we did not know is we did see the fine print that says, you know, the buses depart every so often after flights land. We went into the duty-free store to get some things before and also freshen up before we got on the bus. What we did not know is that there were not that many flights arriving, so we missed our ground transportation because we were more than the time allotted after our flight landed, and the next flight wasn't going to land until the afternoon. We got there early in the morning. So we ended up having to pay for a taxi, and the ride from the airport is about 45 minutes away. To the hotel, the Radisson Blu Saga, and it's a no-frills hotel. It's not in the city center. We were put in 2 rooms with twin beds. The hotel staff was nice. The breakfast was okay. And I would probably give that a 3-star for the hotel. And it's just something to get the job done while you're there. And at the time of this, that hotel was ranked 44 out of 56 in Reykjavik. To walk from the hotel to the city center is about 15 to 20 minutes. My review on Gate 1 Travel, everything was fine until it wasn't fine, and until we had an actual issue and we needed to get in touch with someone. We were supposed to see the Northern Lights and only able to see the Northern Lights based on the weather. And every night they would tell us, or we'd have to check every evening to see if we'd be able to go to see the Northern Lights. And we were not because of the weather. Everyone that went after us was able to see it. We just happened to get there on a bad week.
I can't see!
told us in the fine print that they would replace that tour with something else if we weren't able to go on Northern Lights. No one ever contacted us about that. And also, when I tried to call, they don't have any international toll-free numbers, but you're selling international trips.
How, Sway?
It was hard to get a hold of anyone, and I was using minutes, trying to call back to the States to get in touch with Gate One Travel. We didn't get an answer until we got back to the States. And even then, we were able to email, and they think they refunded us about $45 to $50 for the tour for the Northern Lights, since we didn't get a chance to do it. But it just would have been nice for some communication. The issue is you're purchasing this from Groupon, and they are contracting. It's a Groupon through Gate One Travel, but Gate One Travel relies on tour operators and these destinations. Knowing what I know now, for the future, for especially international trips, I look at travel insurance. So here's some things to consider when you're looking at purchasing a Groupon Getaway. Look at the companies that are associated with that Groupon and do research. Like I said, ours was through Gate One Travel. It would have been in our best interest to research Gate One Travel a little more before, purchasing. Not saying that Gate One is terrible, but it's just, now that I know to research the companies involved, I need to do that just to see what kind of any complaints are involved. And then you can also look at the hotel that's associated with the Groupon to see if what your thoughts are on that. Usually they have 2 options on there, and it just depends on the time of year. Compare the weather for these destinations. A lot of time these cheap travel deals are during off-peak times. Yes, that was the best time to see the Northern Lights, but it was actually very cold. In Iceland, they say that you never know the weather. It could change every 5 minutes. I use things like the U.S. News and Travel website to see when the best time of year is to visit, to know if that's a Groupon that I want to consider traveling during those dates that are specified. Pay attention to the dates that are specified and check for additional coupon codes. So we were able to take money off of the Groupon we used because there was actually a Groupon coupon code. Check the distance of the hotel from all of the attractions just to make sure they're not putting you up in who knows where. Always read the fine print. There are some that say you must book by this date, so the Groupon is valid, or you must book immediately. Just make sure you read that fine print before you purchase it. I know it can be exciting to see cheap fares, but make sure you read that fine print. Also check the cost it's going to take you to get to the airport that the Groupon is from. And compare it. If you have points and miles and you'd rather travel on points and miles, that's something to compare. You quickly identify if this Groupon is really a good deal. That's my experience using a Groupon to travel to Iceland. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, be sure to subscribe. You can see more of my information about my Iceland trip on workhardtravelwell.com, as well as there are related videos that will show at the end of this for Iceland. Have you purchased a Groupon Getaway? What are your experiences with traveling with Groupon?